Good morning, everyone. Well, I didn't fall up the steps, so that's the first job done. Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Today, I plan to share some of how we're applying that mission to Google's real estate construction activities. Since our founding in 1998, Google has experienced astronomical growth that has enabled it to become the global phenomenon it is today. Our real estate and workplace services team has been a foundational enabler for Google's growth and culture. We help Google to thrive by creating inspiring environments where Googlers can do their best work. We're driven by a desire to build community, to foster performance, and to push boundaries. To set us up for the future, we need to transform our approach to real estate delivery. We've been thinking about how can we partner with our internal teams and supply chain to build efficiency and unlock the power of data-driven decision-making. How can we simplify and standardize our project management processes, systems, and data to enable our teams to focus on delivering their best work? How can we lead a transformation that is focused on our people and tailored for sustainable and long-lasting impact? You might ask why. What was the problem? What are we trying to solve for? Well, like our products, Google's real estate growth has been really innovative and fast. And like many other companies, the pandemic provided an opportunity to consider how we're set up and reflect on what we could do differently in the future. Will our current processes, support systems, and regionalized organic ways of working continue to support the needs of a complex and fast-moving organization in a post-pandemic world? Is the construction industry in a place to support our pace of delivery and hunger for data-driven decision-making? We realize we have an opportunity to transform internally and partner with our supply chain to progress towards simpler, more efficient, and more predictable project delivery. In a more efficient environment, our people can thrive on what they do best. Take, for example, our team of project executives. They didn't take up their role because they love the administrative side of project management and controls. They love creating spaces where people can thrive. How can we in this room support that and set up ways of working that enable our teams to focus and excel on creating those amazing spaces? How can we cut the red tape and enable freedom and creativity for our project teams? Our aim is to provide a consistent and reliable project delivery toolkit that enables our team to deliver those inspiring environments without the need to develop a bespoke controls framework for every single project or every single region where we're delivering capital projects. We're 1 year into a multi-year transformation program, and I'm here to share some of what we've learned so far. We've got a long way to go, but I think it's a good point to stop and reflect. At the inception of our program, we had so many systems, tools, and ways of working that it was difficult to get a consistent, holistic view of our project portfolio. And that has a real-life knock-on impact to our delivery partners. Take one of our general contractors. They might be working on projects spanning different cities or different regions of our real estate portfolio. They might be working to different cost classification standards, differing terminology, different routes for project funding, even differing systems to submit their pay apps for review. All of that creates complexity, it adds delays to project kickoff, it adds cost, and it devalues the time that's spent on knowledge transfer and lessons learned. These same types of issues are felt both internally and through our supply chain. So I'd like you to meet Henry. Henry is a Google project executive. He leads 15 projects and has decided to spend some time catching up on the approvals that are sat in his inbox. Just in terms of approvals, he's got 12 contracts to review in DocuSign, 18 invoices in our finance system, 3 project cost reports that he needs to review, and 10 purchase orders. He opens up his first contract, and before he approves, he wants to check his budget to make sure he's on track and that he's within his boundaries. It's been a couple of weeks since Henry actually last looked at the project cost report, and something's changed, and it's difficult to tell what's changed. So he ends up pinging the project manager, having a bit of a back and forwards to try and understand where this has come from. Eventually, he decides to approve the contract. That took 15 minutes. Henry's still got another 11 contracts to review, he's still got 18 invoices, he's still got 3 cost reports, and he's still got 10 purchase orders sat in his queue. That's before he gets to actually the meat of his role of leading the teams to deliver these amazing spaces. It's all just been admin so far. That was so much harder than it needed to be. Henry feels exhausted and frustrated by the amount of admin that he's had to do. I'm sure that we can all connect and empathize with that feeling in some way. Spending so long performing those administrative tasks, you've got so little time to perform the elements of your role that you really, truly enjoy. We asked our stakeholders whether this resonated. Had they found ourselves in a similar situation to Henry? Have you found yourselves in a similar situation to Henry? This slide got a lot of attention when we showed it with our project execs. There are echoes of that project exec experience all through our leadership chain and into our supply chain. We see so many examples of this in our day-to-day lives. For leadership, we're hearing they've got concerns around manual reporting mechanisms. Are they seeing time-lag data? Are they actually seeing a true and up-to-the-minute view of our project portfolio when they're looking at the reports that they're consuming? So how do we solve for that? Well, we start small and we think big. At the moment, we're really focused on our internal alignment of our cost breakdown structure, our project terminology, our project approval processes, our templates, our basic system architecture. It's about trying to be brilliant at those basics so we can enable a better future. As we build that internal alignment, we're really trying to partner with our supply chain, our general contractors, our architects, our engineers and consultants, and that partnership is going to be critical to make sure that we can set ourselves up and our delivery teams up for success moving forward. As one example, a common cost breakdown structure is a critical driver for our overarching effort. For that to be successful, we really need to understand how that's going to flow through into our delivery chain. So to do that, we're planning lots of research sessions with our general contractors in key regions to try and develop an effective way of rolling out that change to minimize the impact, but get the best value from the change. We really see our future ways of working as benefiting our supply chain in a number of ways. Firstly, through improving payment timelines through simplified processes, opportunities for repeat business when there's successful delivery, actually really shining a spotlight on that strong performance because we can see it in the data at scale, and improving knowledge transfer and lessons learned through consistent delivery methods across our portfolio. People are at the heart of our transformation and our business. And from the beginning of our transformation, we pay particular attention to really make sure that we've been listening, to make sure that we've got the support and the buy-in of our stakeholders. We've aimed to strike a balance between improving our internal governance and providing recognizable, rewarding, and sustainable change for our project delivery teams. We've involved them in decision-making, in process design, and in feedback sessions. What we didn't quite foresee was the level of feedback and interest that we'd receive throughout all of this. So managing that's been a little bit tricky. As we grew the program team, we had more and more people engaged, all with differing opinions and insights into how we might best do this. We've all heard, you can't please everyone, but the reality of figuring out who you please and which feedback you accept is a lot more challenging than the theory suggests, particularly in a culture like Google's. Personally, I can't tell you how many times I've thought this would be so much easier if we were all on the same page. But it's that diversity of thought and expression that challenges our transformation team to solve these problems in really creative ways. In this scenario, we found that a clear vision, leadership buy-in, and air coverage are critical to the success of our transformation program. We also spent a lot of time mapping and understanding our stakeholder landscape. So we work with these stakeholders to really develop key personas for use throughout our transformation program and beyond. Each persona had details such as pain points, receptiveness to change, the core function of their role, what they're primarily concerned with in terms of their day-to-day doing, thinking, and feeling. And we use these personas to manage expectations, to check our assumptions, and to guide our approach to communications around the changes that we're making. One of the most complex elements of this transformation is really the global nature of our portfolio. We operate across nearly 60 countries, and as you all know, the construction industry is not really very standardized. As soon as you throw those country borders into the mix, the complexity multiplies several times over. You'll remember that our approach was traditionally very regionally driven, and as we transition to a more global approach, we need to try and ask, how do we manage our core project management processes in every region, accounting for those localized regional nuances, but with one consolidated approach? What processes do we actually need to control at a global level versus what is it okay to be determined by individual regions or by individual projects? How do we evaluate risk? Are we adding risk and complexity when actually we're trying to remove it? How do we automate and bring in governance and compliance so that it's integrated into our programming processes? Governance by default and a better user experience for all of our stakeholders and team members is the approach that we're trying to take. We need to try and avoid the perception that the program is adding red tape and bureaucracy. So our approach really needs to be grounded in simplicity and automation at its core. Much of the change we're making as part of our transformation program is really resetting us up for the future. We want to be able to unlock the potential of digital twins, of CAFM, of advanced BIM. And in order to do that, we need to build these foundational processes and ways of working that operate at an enormous scale. We found during the course of our transformation program that we're needing to invent a number of our core elements of our project management approach to actually work on a global scale because of those regional nuances. Things like terminology, things like cost breakdown structures, estimating templates, workflows, you name it, it's all the basics. I often hear our industry peers speak about leveraging data to unlock the full potential of our assets. But so often, clients and owners are the ones that need to invest so heavily in the resources to build that capability at scale. Today, I've spoken a lot about our internal transformation and touched on the impacts to our supply chain. But how can that translate across an industry? So with that in mind, I'd love to leave you with a couple of questions to take away. If you're an owner, how can we best partner with our supply chains to progress towards the simplicity and transparency that propel our industry forward? And if you're sat in this room as a general contractor, an architect, an engineer or consultant, what do you need from owners and clients to drive the industry's transformation in a way that supports the accessibility of data? Thank you.